Hello. This is the contest. Fantasy Footy Show where we pick up injuries like it's an episode of MASH. We have used that one before, about a year ago, but recycling is a very responsible thing to do. I'm Jesse. We did, yeah. We made a whole thing about MASH in our first season. I'm Jesse, coach of Team Channel with K-Man. He's dual hat winner and coach of the mighty Sack Lunch. You can add us on Foes if you'd like to follow along with our season. We're your hosts. We like fantasy footy. You can follow K-Man on Twitter at K-Man_TC Fantasy. You can follow me on Twitter at Contest Fantasy. K-Man, how you doing, man?
Yeah, all right. Kind of did a bit of work today, but while I was working, I did see one of the best games of soccer I've seen in a very, very long time, which is why my work took many hours. The England versus Mexico game today had everything. It was exciting. Both teams went for it. It wasn't your typical boring game. There were penalties. The game was delayed because of the weather. Both teams just went at it. There was a send-off, and England just held on. And boy, that was awesome game. Awesome game. You know, it cops a bad rap sometimes, soccer, for being boring, slow, people diving. But that was a cracker. That was a cracking game.
Oh, a good way to help an unofficial first day back at work go a little bit smoother for you, a little bit quicker. Yeah.
A little bit smoother. Yeah. But I do have a second thing. I have a new show. And boy, I love it. It is Larry David's new show. He's got a new show called Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Happiness, an Almost History of America. And it is Curb Your Enthusiasm and Seinfeld wrapped up together about historical events that have taken place. It is gold. It is pure Larry David, George Costanza.
Is it on like HBO or?
HBO, I think it's HBO. Yeah. Oh, it's hilarious. I love it. Check it out.
Larry David's newest project is a 7-episode sketch comedy limited series. Oh, it's a sketch comedy. Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Happiness.
So funny.
Produced in collaboration with Barack and Michelle Obama's Higher Ground Productions. Oh, that's less interesting. I thought it was going to say produced in collaboration with Barack and Michelle Obama themselves.
Hey, he's in it. He is in it.
Is he in it?
Barack's in it. Well, he's at the very start. But yeah.
The satirical series takes an unscripted, improvised approach to major events in American history. Oh, Bill Hader. Okay. Catherine Hahn. Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry's in it.
Rob Reiner, okay, right, yeah, okay, Rob Reiner, and then Barack Obama is himself in an introductory cold open. Yeah, nice. Yeah. All right, I'll have to check that one out. I don't know if I think we get HBO because we got like Prime, and you know how you get some HBO stuff on Prime, but not all of it because we're cheapskates and we don't want to pay for HBO Max.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. I wish I could say that I've seen something new recently, but have I told you yet about how I was rewatching the Batman movies in 1 hour long installments because my social media has killed my attention span?
No.
This was a little while ago, actually. This was I was just I was in the mood for Batman, and this was actually towards the end of last term when I just wanted a bit of escapism. And so every night for a couple of weeks, I watch about an hour on my phone in bed. I replaced doom scrolling with about an hour of each Batman movie. I watched the Dark Knight trilogy back to back. Yeah. And then I tried watching what was the one with Robert Pattinson in it, the Batman.
Oh yeah, any good?
Didn't like it. He's good. It's just I saw it in the cinema in like 2022. It's so boring. But again, maybe that's my attention span because I couldn't watch these movies. I couldn't sit down and watch 3 hours because doom scrolling has just destroyed me. I'm like the kids, I understand their plight of trying to sit down and listen to me for an hour at a time. They can only take that.
It's Terminator 2, but not the way we thought it was going to turn out. They're doing it mentally.
Yeah, it's a bit more insidious, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Terminator 5, Insidious.
How good was the T-1000? I don't know that we've had a villain as good as the T-1000 since. I think that might be one of the best villains.
Yeah, I like that.
Before we get stuck into it, if you dig the content, remember to chuck us a follow, 5-star rating over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Really helps the show grow. We're up to 42 reviews, ratings on Spotify. Up to 42.
Good.
Help get us to the 50 is a nice round number.
Yeah, that's a good
Takes
number.
a second. Give it a pause. Give it a like, share, subscribe over on YouTube as well. We throw every single episode up there. We don't do shorts. We tried. It takes too much time. It's extra editing.
It is.
Anyway, look, today we're talking trade targets as always, but we're also talking some of the biggest news in fantasy this week. What to do with Lockie Whitfield. K-Man's got a rookie strat. And we're also talking about some maybe lesser considered players and the pros and cons of potentially trading into those. But before that, people's favorite Giddy Up and Mike the Phony.
Giddy up. Like you didn't call me a phony!
Welcome to Giddy Up and Mike the Phony, where we use childish puns to summarize our fantasy week. Let us know your punny best and worst of the week on Twitter, and we'll laugh at them on the pod. We put a thread up on Twitter every single Sunday so that you can follow along with us. K-Man, how did sack lunch go today? Is there anyone that you're throwing the kitchen sink at this week?
Yeah, not bad. My Giddy Up is send me a Marshall. Marshall on debut was everything we'd hoped he would be for a trade-in this week. My Mike the Phony, I've got two. Not Bull Durham, but Balls Up Durham for his second half. And my next one is just going to be play the song, and it will say everything. Play the song?
Yes.
Marcus 66% CBAs, 80% time on ground, and yet you only scored 50-point Pellies.
Ranks and trades.
Marcus
Yeah, he wasn't good, was
Bonton.
Wasn't good.
The song rings true.
Do you know, great minds think alike, because I was gonna put him on Twitter as my Mike the Phony, and I was gonna do an updated one. And so I've just opened DFS to see what it would be if it was based on last week. Have you looked at this at all?
No.
It would be Marcus 71% CBAs,
Come on.
79 time on ground, and you only scored 63-point Pellies. Ranks and trades.
That was gross.
Also, shout out to, I can't remember who it was. I'm really sorry. If you're a listener, just comment below on Spotify or in YouTube. They told us on Twitter last week that they've gotten the words wrong forever. They only realized last week that it was ranks and trades. They've been saying rants and trades for months.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did try and use our Queensland slang that we've used twice now. Look, we don't say ends. We merge words together like Ochre Australians, and just the way it is.
It's
people.
just the way these things go. Hey.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, there could only be one Giddy Up for me this week, and it was Nasiah Banganine Millerer, because he went bang with a 160. And I'm particularly happy with Nas. Not only was it Nas on debut, but it was Captain Nas, because I put the VC on Nakos and I took it on. The 111.
Yep.
Same. You did too. Excellent. Well done. Well played. I was desperate to hit, because my score projections this week started up close to 2,500. I was projected to score like 24.98 at one point. And then Bont.
Friday.
And then Sam Walsh happened.
Friday night.
And then
Saturday
Shea
night.
Bolton just stopped scoring. And it crawled below 2,300 at one point. And I thought, you know what? I just want to get to 2,300. So that's why I took on, so I rolled into Nas. So that was great. And I've already said the name, but my Mike the Phony this week is Sham Walsh. I want him out. I want him gone. It's gross. It was Richmond.
Yeah.
And the man couldn't even put up a flat ton. Ridiculous.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
What do we
Meanwhile,
do?
my preseason take put up his first ton of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've forgotten his name. Far out. Chad Smith. Jagger Smith. I was waiting because I was like, I really hope K-Man knows who I'm talking about and says the name because I can't think of his name. Jagger Smith finally put up his first ton of the season, so I may
Mr.
have been
Top
wrong, but I
30.
was right this week. Mr. Top 30, yeah, I was very wrong with that, but I was right this week.
I think you're right. I just don't know why Vossi played him at half forward for 8 weeks. Why would you do that?
You know, Vossi's going to be a talking point a little bit later in the episode for me, actually. So we'll get there. But I agree with you.
I've got another one as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Another giddy up, another microphone.
Oh no, I've got to talk about Essendon. I've got to talk about Essendon.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
do you want it? We'll save that.
We'll save that if we have time.
Well, no, we'll roll into it. I'm just as happy to whinge about Essendon. But we gotta do the people's giddy ups and microphonies. Colby McCasher, because he's finally making some cash.
Back.
Bonton Smelly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nasiah Captain Me Millerer. Jordan Denoe.
Oh,
Like
stick him
Jordan
at full forward, why don't you?
There's a lot you can do with Jordan Degoe's name. Yeah, I like that.
Mm.
Baz and Naz showing the pizzazz.
Ooh,
Jordan
that's
DeGoe nowhere near the ball.
Mm.
And Witt left the field. Yeah, that was sad. Ooh. Okay, this one's funny because I misread it initially. Bailey nailed it. Like that. Do you know what I read it as initially earlier today when I saw it? I read it as, and see if you get this reference. I read it as Bailey kneeled it. And I thought they were making a Seinfeld reference. You know Neil?
Kneeled.
You know Neil? And he's just like the better George, and George becomes upset. I thought he was saying he kneeled it.
Got it. He was the better version.
But he wasn't making it. It was just saying nailed it. But anyway, Messiah Wanganeen Millerer, Nick Oldman. Yeah. Bonton Smelly, Sam Walsh. Whoa dash Walsh. Jordan DePuy. It's low hanging fruit, but it's accurate. Bradley King of the Hill. I'm stoked that someone has him in their team.
That's great. Good pickup.
Jordan DeStoppy.
Oh, I hope this isn't a sign of things to come.
And Sam Dudham.
Yeah, that was done.
I couldn't get behind the Sam Durham thing. You know why? Because I've owned him in draft all year. Couldn't do it.
Have you?
Could not do it.
He's been good. His role is great. He gave away a few free kicks. He spent a lot of time on the pine. Which quarter was it? Second, third quarter, maybe third quarter.
Yeah, right.
But he and James Horne-Francis, my boy James, did he give away 5 free kicks on the weekend? 5?
Did he give away 5?
Well, he definitely did 4.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of the 5th one.
Durham or James?
James gave away loads.
James, get it together, mate.
Yeah,
5 free kicks. That's outrageous.
It was definitely 4. Had to have been 4.
Well, do you know actually who else gave away a lot of free kicks? Was my main man LDU. He's got to get this rubbish out of his game. Well, because he had something wasn't adding up with his first 2 quarter point scores, and he was on like he had like 6 disposals and a tackle and a couple of marks in the second quarter, but it said he'd only scored 13 points, and I was like, what is going on here? And so I added it up. He gave away 4 free kicks. 4 free kicks on the weekend. And the week before, he gave away 1. 3 weeks ago, he gave away 4. Like, he's just giving them away. Yep. He's Oprah. He's Oprah out there. Free kicks. You'll get a free kick. You'll get a free kick. Everybody gets a free kick.
That's one of your best this year. That's great.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks for joining. Giddy up and make the phone. Look out for that Twitter thread every single weekend. I don't have a segue for this. Lockie Whitfield. This is probably the big talking point for everybody. Do you have feelings on this? Is he a hold for you? Is he a trade for you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's probably not as... Yeah. And every year I do own him, I'm nervy. I don't know why. He just seems to be a player that you'd think at some stage he's gonna be off the track. Yeah, what do we do? So we've heard nothing. We know that he's had a few concussions, so he's definitely out for next week. It's whether GWS now go, okay, let's look after him and make it 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, depending on the severity of the symptoms and where GWS are at. Are they really going to have a crack? Or are they thinking we might need a man manage? So I think our positions are different, where if it's a week, I'm probably going to hold with Hugo doing what he's doing. But I'm going to talk about rookies in a second, and it's an issue. 2 weeks, though, I think he's going to have to be a trade. Is that where you sit? Or are you in a position now where sitting pretty good, you want to keep that momentum? Are you going to just go, you know what? I need to keep rolling. I'm going to get rid of him this week.
Yeah, that's where I'm landing at the moment. I certainly don't want to trade him. Like I had trade plans going into this week. You know,
I had plans.
I had plans. I had
We had plans.
There was a blueprint. You know, there's in the room next door. There's a board, and there's the red string. You know, it's all going everywhere. So I don't want to get rid of him because I was going to bring in. I was going to try and upgrade my midfield this week, and now it's one of those things where. So last week, one of the options that I told you in trade therapy, right, involved me sidewaysing 2 players and bringing in both Rowan Marshall and Nas, right? But the problem with that was it was going to leave me with 7 forwards, and so I was going to have to put Hugo on field. And so I opted not to do that so that I could get 22 on field. Now, in the end, I actually, because of Lockie, I ended up getting Hugo's 80. The relevance of this little preamble here is that had I done the 2 sideways, though, it would have been disastrous because Lockie would have gone down anyway. Hugo would have already been on the field, and I would have been getting in a rookie score. I would have either been getting in a worse rookie score, or I would have been getting Lockie Whitfield's 67, which would have dropped my, like, it may not have been a disaster, but it wouldn't have been good, you know, like it would have impacted my scoring capacity. And so I have that in mind of like what could have been last week. And I just feel like if I hold Lockie Whitfield in my current position, I'm 145 points from the 100th spot currently. Yep. If I hold Lockie Whitfield and then let's say Hugo puts up a decent score, let's say he puts up another 80, great. What happens if I cop another injury? And then Lockie Whitfield is out for another week because of concussion protocols. Then I'm in dangerous territory. And so I think given how well I'm going this year, how close I am to the top, I think I just need to part ways with Lockie Whitfield at this stage. Hopefully I can get him back in. Probably I'll get him back in the following week if he gets up for Essendon. But yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning.
So that's interesting because now you're going to look for hopefully another D6 option. Or someone with the equivalent of the top 6. So names coming to, you've already got Nas. So I'm assuming you're looking at players like Wilkie, Parker, but from what you saw on the weekend, you're not sold on a Wilkie?
Yeah. Look, Wilkie is he's, full disclosure, he's currently sitting in my team. So in my current trade plans, he's sitting in my team. I just don't love it. So it's a weird one, right? Where on the weekend he scores 101 against Essendon, where this guy is scoring in the first half of the season like 117 versus Melbourne, 131 against Port, 130 against Adelaide, 107 against GWS, 123 against West Coast. He basically puts up a flat ton. Without a Jack Sinclair, we then saw Brad Hill kind of coming off of halfback last game, which it's not like he hasn't done that yet this season, but he seemed to be a bit more prolific. And his score was bolstered by like 63-point Q3. And I've had the Jacos experience. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't know, and I've still got him. He was actually a player I would have been considering moving off of this week because of his run. I don't love the idea of like, could Callum Wilkie in the back half of the season, could he have tricked us with how good he was in the first half? And then now we're actually setting ourselves up for someone who's a little bit more volatile than we're hoping. Because he did 87 against Sydney, 78 against GWS. GWS are very green for defenders. I know he's more of like a Tom Stewart rather than like a Dane Zorko in the back line. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one. So what
I'll say about Wilkie,
land?
well, the thing about the St Kilda with their back six setup is O'Connell looked awesome. He took 5 marks, and also Travaglia since his return. He also had 14 possessions and 4 marks. So it seemed to me in the first quarter, at least, Wilkie was pushing up to a wing position more than that transition halfback or that quarterback role, which is conducive for his transitional marks. That shifted a bit in the third quarter. It'll just be interesting with team release how they structure up again, because if he does go to quarterback, I think he's okay. It's them blooding these other talls, which impacted his ability to be part or kick off transition throughout the whole game. But you know, the what we talked about pre-recording is besides a Wilkie and a Parker, it's looking a bit thin in that defensive line. I'm still pretty confident Wilkie would be a top 6 defender, though, so it's not a bad. His floor, I think, would be good.
And see, this is the thing. The reason he's currently sitting in my team is because, like you say, he probably is a top 6 defender, and he costs $887,000.
Yeah,
like he's cheap as. Dane Zorko is a name that if he gets named this week, he's got Essendon. I considered going that way, but he's like $100,000 more expensive. The other name I do like, and this might sound a little bit reactive, and I promise it's not, it's John Noble. Chernobyl disaster.
Yeah, the Chernobyl.
Because he went back to halfback, and I just think he's got to play there. I think if you pick John Noble, I just think that's where he's got to play. That's where he wants to be. I don't know that Zeke Hewland back there is gonna stick. He had a disposal. His disposal efficiency was at like 65%, and he had 6 turnovers or something like that. He looked great for fantasy, but I don't know that he was great for the team. And so I do wonder if they're kind of in a situation where they're like, well, we don't have Dan Rioli. Bodie Hewland looks good this year, and Bodie Hewland's a guy that I probably want to look at next year for fantasy. But I feel like John Noble's the guy that they've got at the moment. So I feel like that role is probably his again. So I don't mind John Noble either, but it's a bit yucky. And he's still way more expensive than a Calvin.
He's very expensive. Yeah. It's a really good segue because, excuse me, I was going to talk about this on Thursday, but I had a half hour of tech issues and just couldn't get on. But something I want to talk about with the rookie structure, it actually happened on the weekend where you talked about earlier. We could play Hugo Hall on our starting lineups, but if we didn't have someone decent as a rookie in each line, then you're really going to be at a disadvantage. And we discussed this earlier in the year, especially with VAMs, about what's the new strategy. And I've got rookies like Hugo, Fitzgerald, Gallup in my forward line that I was going to move on. And I just don't think I'm going to anymore because of the nature of this time on ground threshold. The nature of perhaps some coaches now saying, well, Bont's going to be a laid out. And the last thing I want is Ison being my recovery guy, if that's the case, and falling behind in the competition. So as much as possible, I think over the next month, I'm going to keep Hugo in my defensive line, probably keep Gallup and Fitzgerald, and rely on them as backup just in case something like this does happen. But it's just something I've been toying with. So again, trades this week, I might be taking haircuts and moving on players like a Banfield or an Ison, or players that I don't want as cover just in case there's a Whitfield scenario 2.0. And I'll talk about those options a bit later. But I think it's something new this year where with the time on ground rule, we're going to have some substance on our benches to cover just in case this happens again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that's probably the argument as well for like downgrade targets. We'll talk more about them later, but they're a bit thin at the moment. But there are those guys, Franco or Franco? Frankau?
Both.
Francolelli.
He's in.
Frank Cuckoo.
Yeah.
And Jason Mraz. I know it's not actually Jason, but Mraz. Well, I just mean of the current like crop of cheap rookies.
Yeah.
I think those are the guys who show they can score, and that's kind of it. I'm with you. I don't really want to trade into a Hawthorn rookie at all, but yeah,
with players coming back, it'll be great if he holds his spot and what a debut. But with players coming back, I'm sure Hawthorn's pushing for top 4. They'd rather their back 6 being a bit more established.
But I just mean, like, to your point, if you were going to downgrade, now might almost be the time to do it, because you can get these guys when they're sub 300K and kind of ensure that you've got some of that coverage. So, like, if you're moving on from a Sam Cumming, do it now rather than wait a week.
And you can't get him next week.
Like, that's right. Yeah.
Too expensive.
Tricky stuff. Yeah. What we're going to do now is, I think we wanted to talk about who are some players that are maybe like a tier or 2 down from the obvious guys. And we've each come up with 3 names, and we've got a bit of an argument for these 3 guys. And we're just going to put the name out there and discuss it for players that we think are worthy of buying ahead of round 18, especially if you're in a situation where you have to take a haircut and you can't afford some of those absolute top of the line guys. So I'll throw to you first, mate. Who's your first name that you think is worthy of a trade-in this week?
Yeah, and it comes back to my trade out. So I want to move on an Ison or something like that. And that means I'm going to have the money of just shy of 940K, and I need a midfielder. So last week we mentioned Josh Dunkley as someone to watch, and we wanted to see it again. It was a really good matchup for Dunks, the contested nature of Geelong, and what a victory down there. With the contest of Sydney Swans and Geelong, his tackle numbers were up, high tackle numbers, but I like his time on ground. I think he's now heading towards match fitness, interrupted preseason, but an increased time on ground of 80%. I've got him in my trade plans already this week. He's already there. Mm-hmm. And what I'm figuring out is those previous matchups, which were great for Dunks, because he was looking for a Heaney. And when he's on the play, he likes that defensive mindset, and that's why his tackle numbers are up. He has the Bombers this weekend and some relatively good matchups, West Coast away. So I guess my fleshing out of this play is with the Bombers matchup. Is that going to hurt him in terms of lower contests, lower stoppages? But in saying that, I don't know if you watched the Bombers on the weekend, but Darcy Parish in the midfield is so slow that Dunks would just eat them up. Them up in the midfield this weekend. So I guess that's my dilemma this weekend is a less contested side. Is that going to hurt his tackle numbers and his output? Or against a relatively inexperienced and slow midfield of the Bombers, is he actually going to feast? His ability to move around ground, he may get more +6s at the Gabba, and his time on ground is increasing. 881K.
Yeah, he's an interesting one, and he's for sure been in and out of my. I'm just going to my photos, my gallery at the moment, because I've screenshot all of these trade plans that I've done this week. And what's he been in? He's been in 1, 2, 3, 4. He's been in 4 different versions of my trade plans this week. So I think he's a really interesting target. You can't really argue with the price.
No.
He's like, we know what he's done in the past. As you say, it's obvious particularly to Lions fans. Like, we've been watching this team closely all season. It's obvious that he's back in form, and he was very out of form earlier in the season. So I think, broadly speaking, he will be a good pick for the rest of the season. Like, particularly when we look at Like if we look at, I think West Coast, not a particularly high stoppage team, but they've developed a level of high pressure in their front half now, particularly with like the inclusions of, you've got Willem Dersma, you've got Harley Reid is having a little bit more impact this year. I think Dunkley has a lot of tackling up his sleeve in that game. Port Adelaide will be a good matchup. I think Carlton will be a good matchup. Hawthorn will be a good matchup. Suns, he will score 150 points because he just shows up when they're playing Matt Rowell, and Collingwood as well. It is this week. See, I had a different take on the Essendon game. My concern was that they're such a low stoppage team.
Yeah.
That will he have, and I think you flagged that, will he have that opportunity? And I wonder if you can wait one more week, but also that could be overthinking it. Like it's Essendon, it's an easy matchup. He's marking again. If he doesn't get the tackles, he'll get the marks probably.
Have you got his ownership percentage?
I can get it open
at hand.
Currently, yes, he currently is 3.38%.
Yep.
And of the top 1% and 5%, 3% and 4% of those teams. So I don't really see it going badly. I think it's a great pick.
I love your first one. Hit us.
My first one is Brad Hill.
Yep.
Brad Hill has been that player that I've regretted not trading in for the whole season. I can't remember if I mentioned it on the pod, but I brought his name up at the very least to you and Vams in our group chat many weeks ago.
Oh, it does feel like
when
a long
I just
time.
started. It's a long time, probably round 4 or 5-ish, something.
Yeah.
And I just noticed, I was like, hey, this guy's starting to pop. And you know what? I just couldn't bring myself to do it because he's always done that thing where he has a month of like good scoring and then people trade him in and then he just bottoms out. But this guy has just picked up TPP this round.
Yep.
So, which I think is a big deal, especially we've just been talking about how thin the back line is. I think you could trade Brad Hill into the back line, make a little bit of money on a Lockie Whitfield, and then flick him into one of your other lines later when you want to bring Lockie Whitfield or someone else back in. I think that flexibility is great. He's under $900,000. Guess what he's averaging on the season?
94?
Oh, well, that's just 92.
Well, that's great. That's awesome.
You meant to go.
I love it.
Look, he's averaging 92.7. I haven't looked at, like the top 8 forwards averages this season. But I would imagine if he's not in there, he'd be pretty close, wouldn't he? For a forward, I would think like Sheasel and then JHF at 95. I think, or maybe Cozzy at 96, JHF at 95. Brad Hill he's actually at 92.7. So the app rounds him up to 93. He's there. He's like a top 5 forward at the moment. Yep. He seemed to have a bit more of a, he's been playing a little bit of halfback all year, but he's, with Sinclair out, it seems like he was the main beneficiary of that. And I think he's got a really safe floor outside of like one game. Like, Zach Bailey had his 39 game the week I traded him in, and then he's been pretty good ever since. Brad Hill dropped to 44 a few weeks ago, but he's been great. And I think all of these forwards outside of Sheasel, the reality is that they're all kind of volatile. And I think you can do a lot worse than a Brad Hill, especially in a week where we're taking a bit of a haircut. The one flag on him is their run is like not the best. Like they've got Port, I think that's good. But then they've got Geelong, then they've got North, then they've got Sydney, then they've got Carlton before they finish the season with the 1-2 of Richmond and Gold Coast.
It could be a positive, and that he interchanges really well with Nas. So if Nas decides he's going to come back and do the kick-ins and be the halfback distributor, Hill pushes up the ground. When Nas decides he goes to the midfield, Hill pushes back, and they interchange really well. And my concern last week was, with those tough matchups, who are you going to clamp? And it has to be Nass after what he did on the weekend. So does that mean now Hill is now freed up against those other teams, your Geelongs? He has a bit more freedom to help Nass out, obviously, if Nass wants to push back because he's being mullined. Again, Hill could be a beneficiary of that. And his scores have increased since Sinclair has been out of the side. So I love this pick, and he's certainly a player I'm going to play around with this week.
Who's your second pick? There's a bit of a theme going here, mate.
Yeah, look, Brisbane Lions again. I talked about him about 8+ weeks ago. Lachie Neale, I think the tough matchups are gone. I think his tags are gone. 954K. Again, if he's 80% plus time on ground, I think he's only dropped to one score under 90. And he's playing for a contract. He's having dinners with Ross the Boss. He's swinging. And he wants to get the best deal, whether he's staying at the Lions or going to Victoria, WA. No one knows. But for his age, I think, he still wants a premiership this year. And he's going to be thirsty. He wants that top 4 to enable the Lions to do that. But he's also looking to get the best deal for his family, his situation, what he wants to do. And I just think he's going to have a cracking end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great pick. He's got Essendon, West Coast, Port, Carlton, Hawthorn. I think will be fine. Suns, Collie. I mean, it is an insane run.
Yeah.
I almost just want to fill my team with Brisbane Lions players.
Well, again, Will Ashcroft, you've got him, and he's at the mill stage. So the Dunkley and Lachie Neale are obviously a lot cheaper, but you'd think Will Ashcroft is going to thirst in the next 6 weeks.
He will be my captain this week. I'll be rolling into Will Ashcroft with the C. My only question about Lachie is, like, he's under a mil, but he's also not cheap. He's 954. So if I look at like Will Ashcroft at 954,000, and then I look at Errol Goulden 1.03 or a Noah Anderson 1.07, do you have any feelings about, like, obviously there's the one scenario where it's like, well, I just can't afford those guys, period. So I'm just going Lachie Neale. But do you almost prefer, let's say you can afford both, but it's like Neale versus Dunkley. And it's like Dunkley gets you that extra 70, 80 odd K to take into next week. But Neale, I reckon, is probably still a slightly safer pick. Do you have a preference between those two guys?
For that reason, that's why Dunkley's in the team. That's 70K next week. That could get me a Callahan to a Heaney or something like that. And if there's any other injuries to occur, I think it's really, again, with the Whitfield news, the Daniel news, the carnage that's happened this year, having a little bit of a piggy bank, because we know these players are going to drop considerable cash. It's something I've learned this year is to perhaps just have a little bit there just in case.
A little bit of money in the back. Yeah, it's certainly something that I'm struggling with this week. I've only brought 48K across from last week, and it's making, there's a couple of moves that I could make that would be really great, and I just can't quite swing them because I haven't brought in that 100K. So I'm with you there. My second name that I'm looking at this week is George Hewitt. Now, you brought him up last week, and I was sort of on the fence, but pre-pod, I was kind of digging into the numbers a little bit on George Hewitt, and it's pretty interesting. So this year, in games coached by Michael Voss, knowing that there was like a bit of a span there where he wasn't even in the team and he was averaging like 140 in the VFL. In games coached by Michael Voss, he averaged 83 on the year. In games coached by Fraser, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's his name? Josh Fraser. I always get confused between Josh Fraser and Josh Carr. In games coached by Josh Fraser, he's averaged 10 extra points, 93. He's put 10 extra points on that. But here's the thing, because I know you're going, okay, why would I get a 93 averaging player when I can get a top-end guy? Here's the thing. I think there's more nuance here. His last 4 games, he's averaged 109. His TOG has gone up. He was at around 70 to 72%. His TOG's gone up to the high 70s or towards 80%. But the key thing here for me is his CBAs. His CBAs in his first 4 games back, which included 1 game under Michael Voss, I believe, in round 9, and then Josh Fraser took over. I could be slightly wrong about that, but first 4 games back, he averaged 60% CBAs. He's averaged 70% CBAs in his last 4. So in those high-scoring games where he's averaged 107, his CBAs have been way back up to around 70 to 75%. Now, I know the obvious pushback on George Hewitt is that his, these games where he's scored these ceiling scores, these high scores, have been against, easier opponents, right? He's done 106 against Essendon, 128 against GWS, 90 against West Coast, 114 against Richmond. But again, I would point to CBA is up to 70%. Tog is back up again. He is the Josh Dunkley of that team. And I think as long as he's got enough time in the middle, he can kind of just get to work. His upcoming fixture is not terrible. Midfielders have shown that they can score against Hawthorn this week. I think Collingwood are very scoreable this year. He's got the Suns in round 20. And look, while the Lions are back on fire in round 21, they've got the Lions. While the Lions are back on fire, I mean, midfielders have shown this year that they can score on the Lions, even while we're in form. So it's not an amazing fixture. They're a bogey team.
They're a bogey team for Brisbane. Yeah.
They will come for us. They will absolutely come for us. So, look, I'm not saying that I would trade into George Hewitt with confidence, and I think Josh Dunkley is probably a better option. But I think if you're shopping around that point, maybe he's not a bad shout. So I'm just throwing his name out there.
Yeah, and that's Carlton to a T, right? They're competitive when they control the midfield. They get quick clearance. They have chaos ball, quick entry into forward 50. And George Hewitt is your one-wood. He's the guy that does the hard stuff with his CBA mix. And amazing what you do when you play a player like that in his rightful position. And they won, 8 in a row now? And they still have patches where they lapse Carlton, and they just will. I've talked about Sam Walsh, perhaps not, I was maybe harsh, but I still agree that he's not your traditional midfielder. He's your outside guy, more of a winger. And George Hewitt is the inside guy. And I think there's a direct correlation between George Hewitt now playing in that role, his output under a new coach, and then winning. That's how Carlton win, is controlling aspects of that midfield.
I think a couple of the intangibles at Carlton are interesting too. Like, I don't think you can actually underestimate the impact of the coach. Like, I just think Michael Voss lost the locker room. I just think he did. I just don't think the players trusted his direction anymore. I think there were fractured relationships. Obviously, there was a fractured relationship with George Hewitt. There's speculation about, that Vossi was part of the reason why Charlie Curnow left for Sydney. And I just think when players lose confidence in their coach, that can have massive ramifications on their output, whether they're played in position or not. I think the players seem to love Josh Fraser. He's got a game plan that they like, that they respect. He's willing to take risks in how they play and how they move the football. I think George Hewitt is a guy who's probably thriving in that. And I think the last thing I'd say is that the one sort of upside I can think of in terms of if you were confronted with like a Josh Dunkley versus a George Hewitt, and you were like, you know what, I want to be really aggressive, because I think a lot of people are going to trade into a Josh Dunkley because I think he's the really obvious, like he's a great pick. There's a reason everyone's going to be trading into him. But I think if your team is in a position where you're like, you know what, I wouldn't mind just having a bit of a pod here, then I think George Hewitt kind of fits that mold where the risk is mild, but the upside is pretty solid.
Yep. My number 3, and he is 3, I definitely prefer the other 2, is a Richards from the Bulldogs, and it's purely his run. So he goes West Coast, Suns, Tigers. Again, Bulldogs, I thought they were a bit disappointing on the weekend, and they're going to want to shore up finals in a good finals position. So with Bond perhaps getting some attention with West Coast, maybe a Touk Miller against the Suns. I think Richards is the beneficiary, even with the addition of Libba coming back. He looks really good in 972K. He's just a little bit of a Smokey.
Yep, I love this one. I've always been well, not always. I mean, the last 2-3 years, I've been a really big Ed Richards fan. I think he's a really, really good footballer. I think the thing with Ed Richards is that he has got a bit of a flaw. Yeah. And so I think no matter what, he's going to drop an 85 on you probably once every month. But he's also got an insane ceiling. And that same month, he could drop 135. And then the other two scores are probably going to be 95 to 105. So I think as long as you're okay with taking that 85 floor once a month, he's an awesome pick because tell you what, that's 3 ceiling games back to back to back, really, there, isn't it? With West Coast Suns and Tigers.
Yeah, especially if the West Coast under the roof. Yep.
My third and final player that I think is an interesting pick this week is Murphy Reed. This has nothing to do with, I'm not looking at price or value or anything like that. I'm just looking at vibes. I'm looking at, well, I'm looking at a little bit more than vibes. There's a logic here. But this is all to do with Hayden Young, I think. Hayden Young went down with a groin injury. He didn't return. I just did a little bit of a looky-loo on the internet to see if I could find any news on that. And it seems like maybe it's not actually super serious and he could get up. But let's say for a moment that Hayden Young goes down for a month. I think Murphy Reed is actually in a sort of a prime position to take up a larger centre bounce role in the team. So I'll just rattle off some numbers. Rounds 1 to 9, he averaged 19% centre bounce attendances and he averaged 80 points a game. Rounds 10 through 17, he averaged 37% CBAs and 88 points per game. Now, that 88 points per game, obviously that's not as, we want to target guys who are 95, right? I guess my argument for Murphy Reed is I think he's really come into his own in the last 4 weeks or so. I think we've all seen this kind of evolution of this guy. And I think what we've seen is a player who's going to be on our TV screens for a really, really, really long time. If Hayden Young misses 3 or 4 weeks, I don't see a reason why Murphy Reed can't see another uptick in centre bounces again. So he's been averaging 37% and he's put 8 points on his score with that jump. What if he averages 45%? What if he jumps another 8% centre bounce attendances? I think all of a sudden we're looking at a sort of fringe top 6 to 8 sort of forward potential. And it's just a name that I'd be interested in. And I think probably Shea Bolton gets a minor bump as well. So just something to keep an eye on. This guy is, you said Ed Richards was your Smokey. I think Murphy Reed's my Smokey. He's not someone that I'm leaping into, but he's a name that I'm keeping an eye on, especially if you're shopping in those discount ranges.
Geez, good footballer. I saw on the weekend. How young is this kid and what he did in the forward 50? He was in a forward pocket right on the boundary line and he got out of space with poise, calmness. He thought his way through it. Just something you don't see, for that young pedigree. So, geez, he's just an impressive kid.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really great to watch. And that calm and poise cannot be overstated, I don't think. So many players of his age, I think, maybe either panic under pressure or they don't, but only because they kind of get a lot of cheap ball. He doesn't seem to do that. He doesn't only rely on cheap ball, and when he does get himself into those situations, he often gets himself and the team out of them. I think he's awesome young player. All right, we have changed our minds. We're not doing the trade block this week, and that is purely because the trade targets really aren't that different from last week, and we've just given a whole bunch of in-depth discussion on 6 different players. So instead, we're going to go straight to the outro. You can follow K-Man on Twitter at K-Man_TC Fantasy. You can follow me on Twitter at Contest Fantasy. If you're looking for some extra names to consider trading in this week, you can go listen to our trade block session from last week. And maybe we'll talk about the potential in some names like Ryan Zorko or Rowan Marshall again or someone else in trade therapy. See you later.